I feel like it brings the best out of you as a competitor, so I'm excited to kind of take it all in.
A desert morning so still you can hear your own breath. A leather glove rests in the grass. A man stands alone on the mound, no crowd, no spotlight, no noise, just rhythm, just patience, just a mind conditioned for precision. This is Marcus Stroman, 5'7", a height that sports once told couldn't be greatness, a size that scouts once labeled a disadvantage. But here he is, deep into a multi-million career built on proving that measurement has never been the truth. His style? Intentional. His training? Surgical. His life? Minimal but meaningful. While others chase loud luxury, Marcus chose clarity. Not excess identity. Not flash focus. He built himself piece by piece, routine by routine, day by day, until the world had to look up, whether they wanted to or not. Because greatness isn't volume. It isn't height. It isn't the noise that surrounds you. It's the quiet decision to stand anyway. So the question isn't how tall he is. The real question is, how far can discipline take a man who refuses to shrink? Before the bright stadium lights, before the tailored suits and tunnel walk confidence, before the cameras learned his name, there was Long Island, a small neighborhood where kids rode their bikes in the street, where asphalt fields doubled as dreams, and where a boy learned early that the world wasn't going to hand him anything. Marcus Stroman was born into an athletic family, a competitive house, a place where work came before celebration. His father, a police officer. His mother, a determined force of her own. The household didn't move loud. It moved with purpose. But purpose can be shaken. And when his parents split, the world shifted. He was young, and the kind of young where silence teaches you more than words. He learned how to pack his own bag, how to get himself where he needed to be, how to motivate himself when nobody was watching. That was the first lesson life handed him. Independence isn't something you're given. It's something you earn. And then came the doubt. Not subtle, not hidden, spoken directly to his face. You're too small. You won't last on the mound. You don't look like a pitcher. You don't fit the mold. It came from coaches, from scouts, from people who shook their heads before they even saw him throw. In baseball, height is currency. Height means intimidation, leverage, advantage. Marcus didn't have that, at least not by traditional standards. So he built something else. Fire. Not the loud kind, the steady burn that doesn't flicker even when the wind hits. His mother saw it first. She was the anchor, the voice that didn't raise, but cut through doubt with clarity. Prove them wrong every day, she told him. Not just once every morning before school, every drive to practice, every long night when frustration wore him thin. The words didn't just motivate him. They became his philosophy. Not angry, not reactive, just intentional. Because when you're underestimated, you have two choices. Break beneath it or build on top of it. Marcus built. He trained in backyards. He threw until his arm ached. He studied mechanics the way some study poetry, examining angles, timing, precision. He didn't just want to be good. He wanted to be undeniable. While other kids waited to hit genetic lotteries, he worked. Discipline became his signature. Confidence became his armor. And silence became his advantage. By high school, people started to notice. Not because he was towering, but because he was sharp. Every pitch precise. Every movement deliberate. Every game played with something unspoken, but unmistakable. A man who refuses to shrink. His journey led him to Duke University, not just as a player, but as a student of the craft. Duke wasn't a stepping stone. It was a laboratory. The weight room, the bullpen, the classroom, everything was training. He studied biomechanics. He learned the science of leverage. He mastered the art of movement efficiency. If he couldn't grow taller, he would grow smarter. And slowly, the whispers changed. From too small to, he's different. He's focused. He's built for pressure, not because success came easy, but because he learned to build strength in places no one was looking. He didn't fight for attention. He didn't demand respect. He earned it quietly, consistently, relentlessly. And that calm confidence, the way he walks into a room like he already knows who he is, that didn't come from winning. It came from surviving doubt. It came from mornings when he had to push himself because no one else would. It came from repetition, from the willingness to show up when others took days off. The world saw his height. Marcus saw his standard, and the people who once dismissed him couldn't ignore him anymore. His story asks a question, not just to the fans watching, but to every person who ever felt underestimated. If everyone doubted you, would it break you or build you? Because sometimes greatness isn't applause. It's the silence between attempts, the moment before the pitch, the breath before the decision to try again. Marcus chose to stand every single day. And that choice would carry him to the moment where everything changed, where the noise of doubt faded under the blinding lights of the MLB draft stage, from the backyard to the draft board to the diamond under stadium lights. The world was finally watching. Now it was his turn to speak, with performance. The moment the name Marcus Stroman was called in the MLB draft, it didn't just signal an opportunity, it signaled a challenge to baseball tradition. The Toronto Blue Jays took him in the first round, a move many analysts questioned. The league had seen tall, towering pitchers dominate for decades. Stroman was different, compact, fierce, measured. Someone who didn't look like what the league was used to. But that was the point. From the moment he stepped on the mound in Toronto, it became clear Marcus wasn't playing to fit the mold. He was playing to break it. His debut brought energy not loud, not flashy, controlled energy, precision. A pitcher who didn't overpower hitters with brute force, but dismantled them with intelligence. His game was built on movement, the ball dancing, dipping, running off bats before hitters could react. He understood timing, tempo, deception. He played baseball like chess, 3 pitches ahead, always calculating. Commentators tried to label him a finesse pitcher, a deception pitcher, undersized but scrappy. But those labels never captured the truth. Marcus Stroman wasn't finding ways to compensate for his size. He was proving that size was never the measurement of dominance in the first place. As he grew in Toronto, the crowd responded to him. Not because he was a superstar, but because he was real. Every game, every inning, he radiated authenticity. When he celebrated, it was pure emotion. When he locked in, his eyes told the story. Focus sharp enough to cut through noise. And noise was always around him. Each stadium came with its own narrative. Every headline carried the same undertone, as if waiting for him to falter, waiting for the moment the "too small" comment reappeared. He didn't let it. Instead, he crafted his game into a signature. A pitching style no one could replicate because it came from study, not stature. Movement, rhythm, the art of changing speeds, the science of mechanics. He built himself, piece by piece, angle by angle. Then came a defining chapter, Team USA, in the 2017 World Baseball Classic. On that stage, Marcus Stroman didn't just play, he embodied identity, representing his country, representing the doubted, representing every player who didn't look like the stereotype. It was more than baseball, it was an expression. When he took the mound in the championship game, the world saw something that couldn't be measured in height or velocity. Presence, calm, composed, unshakable. Every pitch was a message, a response to the years of being overlooked. He didn't scream, he didn't posture, he simply executed, with precision so sharp the opposing team could only watch. When Team USA won and Stroman was named MVP, it wasn't just a trophy. It was validation, delivered on the world stage. A moment that said, you can underestimate the man, but you cannot deny the work. After Toronto, life shifted. Baseball moves, trades, contracts, new cities, new expectations. From the Blue Jays to the New York Mets, Marcus walked into a market built on pressure. The crowd was louder, the headlines sharper, the spotlight hotter, and still he didn't bend. He brought his same mentality: play with heart, act with purpose. But the Mets chapter wasn't just baseball. It was growth, self-definition, understanding who he was outside the jersey. The world saw a player confident enough to speak on what he believed in, and composed enough to stand tall when questioned for it. Then came the move to the Chicago Cubs, a city where loyalty runs deep and fans feel every pitch in their bones. Stroman fit into that rhythm, not as a performer, but as a presence. Someone who played with soul. Someone who gave everything, even on days when the mound fought back. And then the lights shifted to the New York Yankees, the franchise of legends, the house of expectation, the uniform that carries weight even before a player steps onto the field. For most, the pressure would suffocate. For Marcus, it sharpened him. In New York, under brighter lights, louder crowds, and bigger microphones, Marcus continued to pitch his way intentionally, focused, and fearless. Every start was a message. Greatness isn't measured vertically, it's measured internally. He didn't just succeed in the league, he changed conversations within it. Pitchers began studying mechanics differently. Coaches reevaluated how they looked at bodies, not just height. Young players, especially those who didn't match the prototype, found a model to follow. Marcus wasn't just breaking stereotypes, he was rewriting them. Because success isn't only about performance, it's about philosophy. And Stroman's philosophy was clear. Show up prepared, work with precision, stand on what you believe, let the results speak. To some, his passion on the mound read as intensity. To others, as emotion. But to those who truly watched the game, it was heart, the kind that can't be coached. The kind that comes from proving yourself long, before anyone knows your name. He didn't play to impress, he played to express. And that distinction changed everything. Because Marcus Stroman didn't just redefine how pitchers play. He redefined how pitchers think. He proved that identity is not formed by physical expectation, but by internal certainty. And when the stadium lights dimmed, when the world finally stopped watching, another side of Marcus Stroman emerged. The side built on peace, stillness, intention. The side where luxury means clarity, not chaos. There's a version of luxury that screams neon lights, diamond chains, roaring engines announcing themselves before they're seen. But Marcus Stroman's world is the opposite. His luxury doesn't shout, it breathes. In the quiet openness of Scottsdale, Arizona, Marcus built his sanctuary, a home shaped not by excess, but by clarity. Think warm desert air drifting through sliding glass doors, earth-tone walls that match the mountains outside, stone, wood, texture instead of flash, the kind of space where the loudest sound is your own thoughts settling into place. This isn't a mansion meant to impress guests. It's a refuge designed to protect peace. The first thing you notice inside is the light. Natural, soft, endless. Not harsh studio fixtures or LED strips glowing in every corner. Just sunrise pouring across polished floors. He wanted a space where morning felt like renewal, where silence wasn't emptiness, but presence. There's a dedicated corner, not a room, just an intentional pocket of space where he begins his days. A cushion, an incense burner, a journal, nothing extra, nothing accidental. Because for Marcus, luxury starts before the world even wakes. His private training facility sits just minutes away, not a commercial gym, not a performance compound filled with cameras, just a minimalist space carved out for work. Black mats, wooden plyo boxes, racks, bands, open floor. Stroman trains differently than most pro athletes. He focuses on longevity, breathing, mobility. Small muscles, connective tissue, balance the parts of the body most players ignore until they break. Where others chase highlight strength, he chases durability. No brag posts, no gym theatrics, just form, breath, discipline. The routine looks simple until you try to follow it. Marcus understands something most stars don't figure out until it's too late. The career is long. The body remembers everything. You either preserve it or you pay later. His car collection matches this same philosophy of intentional luxury. Not excessive, not performative, not look at me. Just vehicles that feel aligned with who he is. Marcus isn't a car showman. He doesn't build collections to perform wealth. Every car in his garage has a purpose. The Bentley Flying Spur. Refined power. The interior feels like a private listening room. This is the car he takes on reflective drives, late evenings after a big game, when thoughts need space to breathe. Not for spectacle. For quiet processing. The Audi RS7. Sharp, methodical, fast without being loud. This is the daily driver, the precision machine. The RS7 feels like him. Efficient motion, no wasted energy, performance based on timing rather than brute force. The Mercedes GLS 600 Maybach. The traveling sanctuary. A moving room of calm. Seats that adjust to the spine. Lighting that mimics mood. For long drives, airport transitions, recovery days, and moments where the world needs to stay outside the doors. None of these cars are chosen for attention. None exist to impress. They reflect exactly what he values. Comfort, control, alignment with self, no noise, no performance for the crowd, just a grounded presence. Marcus's fashion identity is its own language. No loud chains, no look at me fits, no desperate trend chasing. He gravitates to pieces that speak softly but carry intention. Fear of God, essentials, rude, Nike exclusives, muted tones, clean silhouettes, layered comfort, clothes that move with him, clothes that feel like breathing room, because Marcus understands something about appearance that many don't. Style isn't what you show people. Style is what stabilizes you when the world moves fast. His wardrobe is built not to attract attention, but to maintain focus. Everything has a purpose. Everything has a feeling attached. Which brings us to the most personal layer of his aesthetic, his tattoos. People think they're decorations. They're not. They're archives. Every symbol is a lesson learned. Every word a vow kept to himself. Every portrait someone he refuses to forget. His skin becomes a map of his journey. Not the journey the media knows, but the internal one. The battles fought in silence. The nights of doubt. The promises he made to keep going. Luxury, in Marcus Stroman's world, is not money. It has meaning. It is controlled. Control of time. Control of energy. Control of narrative. And that is the rarest kind of wealth. Because here's the truth. In the world of professional sports, fame is easy. Noise is easy. Being seen is easy. But being centered, being balanced, being grounded enough to know who you are when the stadium goes silent is the real discipline. Marcus has built a lifestyle where every piece of his environment, his home, his car, his clothing, his training, reflects who he is, not who he's expected to be. That is luxury, not diamonds, not jets, not headlines. Luxury is being fully yourself in a world that tries to turn you into something else. If you had the chance to choose, would you pick loud luxury that impresses others or quiet control that strengthens you? And in the silence of that home, another side of Marcus Stroman begins to appear. There's a part of Marcus Stroman's life the cameras rarely capture. No stadium lights, no roaring crowds, no fastballs exploding across home plate. Just silence. Soft, calm, intentional silence. Because for Marcus, home isn't a trophy case. It's where the fire rests. He's a deeply family-centered man, and the first relationship that shaped him, the foundation of everything he has become, is the one with his mother. She was the voice that kept him balanced, the reminder that even when the world doubted him, he could not afford to doubt himself. Their bond is woven into everything. His discipline, his confidence, his ability to stay grounded while the world spins around him. Even now, amid endorsements, contracts, travel, interviews, he makes time to call, not quick check-ins, real conversations about life, about purpose, about how he feels, not just how he performs. Because in Marcus Stroman's world, success means nothing if you lose the people who helped you build it. When the crowds disappear, Marcus returns to stillness. Meditation isn't a trend for him, it's a lifeline, a space where thoughts slow down, where pressure dissolves, where expectations lose their weight. He has trained his mind the same way he trained his body, with patience, repetition, and mercy. Next to meditation is journaling handwriting, not digital. Thoughts turned into ink, emotions unpacked before they overflow. This is where Marcus examines himself honestly, without defense. What he fears, what he wants, where he's growing, and where he still needs to. There is no ego here, just intention. His personal routine includes yoga and mental conditioning, not the high adrenaline training most expect from a professional athlete. This is the unspoken side of elite performance: flexibility, breath control, joint preservation, emotional balance. While others chase strength that looks impressive, Marcus builds strength that lasts. And then there's the part of Marcus that's almost childlike in its joy creation. His sneaker customization sessions are quiet, almost meditative. He doesn't paint to show the world. He paints because it brings him peace. Color, texture, motion, meaning. Every pair becomes a diary entry in disguise. There's music playing, not stadium hype energy. Something calm, soulful, thoughtful. This is where the athlete fades, and the artist emerges. Off the field, Marcus is introverted. Not shy, not withdrawn, just intentional with his energy. People call him private. But privacy isn't secrecy, it's protection. He understands the cost of visibility and how fame can distort identity, relationships, peace. So he guards his inner circle carefully. His romantic life, rarely posted, rarely discussed. Not because he's hiding anyone, but because he values the sacredness of connection. Love to Marcus is not content. It's not for public analysis. It's something nurtured quietly, like a flame shielded by cupped hands. He chooses depth over display, presence over publicity. His personal motto is something he has turned into a philosophy. Height doesn't measure heart, but the deeper meaning sits beneath the words. The world will try to tell you who you are, what you can be, where your limits lie. But greatness is not measured in physical dimensions. It is measured in spirit, perseverance, and self-belief. Marcus is living proof. And in this quiet daily rhythm, the cooking, the stretching, the meditation, the art, the time with family, the fire that burns on the mound becomes something else. Control, peace, self-awareness. Because the world only sees Marcus Stroman the athlete, the competitor, the disruptor, the man who stares down hitters twice his size and never blinks. But in his private life, he is gentle, he is thoughtful, he is grounded. His home is not a celebration of fame. It is a sanctuary from it. His routines are not about staying visible, but staying whole. His silence is not emptiness. It is choice, a deliberate one. And it's in that quiet strength, not the stadium noise, that his influence begins to ripple outward. When Marcus Stroman steps away from the stadium lights, he doesn't step away from the game. He takes it back to where it begins, with the kids who are still figuring out who they are and whether the world will make space for them. At the heart of his legacy is the HDMH Foundation. Height doesn't measure heart. Not a slogan, not merch, not branding. A message, a challenge, a belief system built from his own battle. Because Marcus knew from the very beginning what it felt like to be dismissed before, being understood, to walk into tryouts already categorized, measured, reduced. And now, he works to make sure the next generation doesn't learn to shrink themselves in response. His camps don't focus on velocity, not trophies, not highlight reels. They focus on confidence, identity, emotional balance, resilience under pressure. Marcus teaches what coaches rarely teach, that your mind is your muscle, that belief is a skill, that heart is a weapon. He doesn't tell kids they can be anything. He teaches them to become something on purpose. Because dreams mean nothing without discipline, and discipline means nothing without self-respect. He visits schools not to be celebrated, but to be understood. He talks about anxiety, frustration, and doubt the invisible battles behind the highlight clips. He reminds young athletes that the pressure they feel is real and that asking for help is strength, not weakness. This is his version of activism. Not loud, not performative, not tied to headlines, just presence, consistent presence, showing up, listening, guiding. Because the most powerful thing you can give a young person isn't advice, it's proof. Marcus doesn't frame his legacy through championships or statistics. He frames it through impact, through the boy who finally stands tall on the mound, through the girl who realizes her voice has weight, through the kid who once whispered his dreams, now saying them out loud. His message is simple, but it hits deep. Your limitations are real, but your response is your power. Maybe you're smaller, maybe you're overlooked, maybe you don't have the perfect circumstances, but that doesn't define you. What defines you is the decision to show up anyway. He didn't just play the game, he changed the conversation. He didn't just prove he belonged, he made space for others to believe they do too. Marcus Stroman redefined what a pitcher could look like, what a leader could sound like, what confidence could feel like when it's earned quietly, not performed loudly. He became a new kind of role model. Not the untouchable superstar, but the human one, the real one. The visible example that heart can outweigh history, doubt, and expectation. And as the sun sets on the practice field, the story returns to where it began. The calm, the clarity, the quiet power of a man who built a legacy without needing to shout. From a backyard in Long Island to stadiums roaring with thousands to quiet mornings in the desert where discipline is its own kind of prayer, Marcus Stroman has lived a story built on intention. Not the loud kind of greatness, not the kind that needs headlines, not the kind that demands to be seen, but the kind that lasts. He didn't try to become someone the game expected. He shaped the game around who he already was. A pitcher who was told he was too small. A competitor who was told to be less emotional. A player who was never supposed to stand where he stands today. But when the world tried to measure him, he measured himself differently, not by height. Not by hype, not by applause, but by heart. This is what makes his story powerful. Greatness doesn't need to shout. Success doesn't need to glow. Impact doesn't need to be broadcast. Sometimes, the strongest legacy is the one built in silence, through work, through patience, through self-belief. Marcus Stroman didn't just play the game. He rewrote the definition of presence. He showed that focus is a luxury, that confidence is a skill, that identity is something you build, not something you're given. So now, the question turns to you. Is Marcus Stroman redefining what the modern athlete can be, proving that greatness doesn't depend on size, spotlight, or approval? Or is he simply the reminder we all needed, that heart is still the strongest force in sports? If stories like this move you, if you believe in self-made greatness, if you value quiet power, subscribe to The Black Empire Files, and comment your favorite Marcus Stroman moment below.